Grandma didn't even hear him. The frozen, pop-eyed look was back with her again now. She was miles away in another world. Marvellous medicine, George told himself. He found it fascinating to stand there and watch what it was doing to the old hag. What next, he wondered, and he soon found out. Suddenly, she began to grow. It was quite slow at first, just a very gradual inching upwards. Up, 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 about an inch every few seconds. And in the beginning, George didn't notice it. But when she had passed the 5'6" mark and was going on upwards towards being 6 foot tall, George gave a jump and shouted, "Hey, Grandma! You're growing! You're growing up! Hang on, Grandma! You better stop now or you'll be hitting the ceiling!" But Grandma didn't stop. It was a truly fantastic sight. This ancient, scrawny old woman getting taller and taller, longer and longer, thinner and thinner, as though she were a piece of elastic being pulled upwards by invisible hands. And when the top of her head actually touched the ceiling, George thought she was bound to stop. But she didn't. There was a sort of scrunching noise. And bits of plaster and cement came raining down. "Oh, hadn't you better stop now, Grandma?" George said. "Daddy's just had this whole room repainted." But there was no stopping her now. Soon her head and her shoulders had completely disappeared through the ceiling, and she was still going. George dashed upstairs to his own bedroom, and there she was, coming up through the floor, like a mushroom. "Whoa, P!" she shouted, finding her voice at last. "Hallelujah! Here I come!" "Steady on, Grandma," George said. "With a hey, nonny, no, and up we go!" she shouted. "Just watch me grow!" "This is my room," George said. "Look at the mess you're making." "Terrific medicine," she cried. "Give me some more." "She's as dotty as a donut," George thought. "Come on, boy, give me some more," she yelled. "Dish it out, I'm slowing down." George was still clutching the medicine bottle in one hand and the spoon in the other. Well, he thought, why not? And he poured out a second dose and he plopped it into her mouth. "Pow-wee!" she screamed, and up she went again. Her feet were still on the floor downstairs in the living room, but her head was moving quickly towards the ceiling of the bedroom. "I'm on my way now, boy," she called down to George. "Just watch me go." "That's the attic above you, Grandma," George called out. "Keep out of there. It's full of bugs and bogles." Crash! The old girl's head went through the ceiling as though it were butter. George stood in his bedroom, gazing at the shambles. There was a big hole in the floor, and another in the ceiling, and sticking up like a post between the two was the middle part of Grandma. Her legs were in the room below, her head in the attic. "I'm still going," came the old screechy voice from up above. "Give me another dose, my boy, and let's go through the roof." "No, Grandma, no," George called back. "You're busting up the whole house." "To heck with the house," she shouted. "I want some fresh air. I haven't been outside for 20 years. By golly, she is going through the roof, George told himself. He ran downstairs, he rushed out of the back door into the yard. It'd be simply awful, he thought, if she bashed up the roof as well. His father would be furious, and he, George, would get the blame. He'd made the medicine. He'd given her too much. "Don't come through the roof, Grandma," prayed George. "Please, don't." George stood in the farmyard, looking up at the roof. There was no sign of Grandma. Whew! The old Wurzels got stuck in the attic, George thought. Thank goodness for that. But then, very slowly, like some weird monster rising up from the deep, Grandma's head came through the roof. Then her scrawny neck and the tops of her shoulders. "How am I doing, boy?" she shouted. "How's about that for a bash-up?" "Don't you think you'd better stop now, Grandma?" George called out. "I have stopped," she answered. "I feel terrific. Didn't I tell you I had magic powers? Didn't I warn you I had wizardry in the tips of my fingers? But you wouldn't listen to your old Grandma." "You didn't do it, Grandma," George shouted back to her. "I did it. I made you a new medicine." "A new medicine? You? What rubbish!" she yelled. I did, George shouted. "You're lying as usual," Grandma yelled. "You're always lying." "I'm not lying, Grandma. I swear I'm not." The wrinkled old face high up on the roof stared down suspiciously at George. "Are you telling me you actually made a new medicine all by yourself?" she shouted. "Yes, Grandma, all by myself." "Well, I don't believe you," she answered. "But I'm very comfortable up here. Fetch me a cup of tea." Now, a brown hen was pecking about in the yard, close to where George was standing, and the hen gave him an idea. Quickly, he uncorked the medicine bottle and poured some of the brown stuff into the spoon. "Watch this, Grandma," he shouted. He crouched down, holding out the spoon to the hen. "Chicken," he said. Chicken. Come here, have some of this." Now, chickens are stupid birds and very greedy. They think everything is food. This one thought the spoon was full of corn. It hopped over and looked at the spoon. "Come on, chicken," George said. "Good chicken. Chick, 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 chick." And the brown hen stretched out its neck towards the spoon and went peck. It got a beakful of medicine. The effect was electric. "Ah, ah, ah!" shrieked the hen and shot straight up in the air like a rocket. He went as high as the house. Then down it came again into the yard, splosh. And there it sat with its feathers all sticking out straight from its